everybody, and welcome to Movie Buffs, a show that covers the best action films of all time. I'm your host, Cisco, aka Misfit Minded, and you can find me on Twitter at rampage_misfit and at my movie pages at misfit_minded on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yes, and I'm your host, Shani B, and you can find me on all the socials at Shani B Movies.
The movie we watched to break in the theater is called The Deep House. Have you heard of this movie?
No, The Deep House. Tell me about it.
Oh, it's a really interesting concept. I don't think they executed it as well as it could have been, but like it's a super cool, like easy, like we're browsing through Amazon Prime and I heard of it that it I know it was like last year I was hearing things about it. It's basically a haunted house movie, found footage haunted house movie, but it's underwater. So it's it's an underwater found footage movie, yeah. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Whoa, that is pretty crazy. But I also hear what you're saying that like that's probably harder than you think, right?
It loses steam, especially in the third act, where I was like, that ending was kind of bullshit compared to like the rest of it. But the first 2/3 are like legit creepy and effective. So nice. What about you? What have you been watching?
Well, I mean, I had to prep for Stream Queen, so I decided to check out first the original Firestarter from the 80s with Drew Barrymore, which really holds up in hilarious ways.
Oh, wow.
And then also I watched the new one, and it was so bad I felt angry when I finished. I was like, God, why do you remake a movie and it can't even be a little bit good? Do you know what I mean? Like, not even a little bit of, I guess, like what I was expecting, because it's not like I was like hoping it would be the greatest movie of all time, but I thought, this is a cool story. I like Zac Efron. He's a sweetheart. This should be an easy horror movie. And instead, I feel like 10 minutes in, I was like, oh shit, I got to sit through the rest of this and try to be respectful about it so I could be, a responsible reviewer. But oh man, just so many disappointing things. But the other thing I watched that I wanted to bring up was the Honey, I Shrunk the Family series of like, I shrunk the kids and blew up the kids and shrunk myself.
Oh, the originals?
Yeah, the OGs.
I thought you were like saying there's another remake, and I was like, whoa, wait, what? I have not heard if they rebooted this, but no, the originals, of course.
They were so good.
Speak
Such
on
a good
it.
Throwback. Oh, man. Just another testament to when there's practical stunts happening in a film and you do a little bit of CG to coordinate those practical stunts, your film will always hold up. That first one in particular is still the best of all of them. And the only difference is that they get more computer generated images as they go on. Rick Moranis for life. He's the best of all time. He's still as funny. And it was just like so heartwarming. I miss those kinds of heartwarming movies that like respect the kids. So, so much of the movie is the kids figuring stuff out. And I just feel like today it's so popcorny. There's like no real challenges for the kids. It's mostly like some very easy
hitting you over the head with a really
kind of
message. Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. But you want to hear a depressing story about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids from my childhood?
Please, absolutely.
I want to say, my family went to Disney World or whatever, and I wanted to go on the ride. They had a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids ride or whatever. For whatever reason, I don't know if it was because like I remember it was raining that day or I don't know, but like it was not open and I was very mad about it. So I did not get to experience the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids ride.
I'm so sorry.
What a bummer.
I'm so sorry to hear that because it was awesome. It was awesome. Okay. That's what I was lamenting about the entire time. I was like, I'm so pissed they took it down. I can't remember what they replaced it with, but it was so sick. And I remember my little brother was like really small, and the amazement on his face is something I'll never forget. So I'm so sorry you didn't get to have that. Damn.
No, I got the movies, and yeah, the awe of the movies is, you know, enough for me. But I
Very
do remember
powerful.
that, just like, oh damn, it's not open. Oh well.
Oh
It's
man, childhood so hard.
yeah. And then the other movie I watched, I rented the new Channing Tatum movie, not the Lost City Dog, the Dog, which
Okay.
came out this year as well. Have you seen that
Yep.
one? Yeah.
I haven't. I don't know. I'm not like
Okay.
super into just movies about like classic guy and his dog. I'm sort of saturated on those. How was it? Was it good?
It's all right. It's definitely like one I'm glad I waited to rent. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely a rental on a Sunday evening. Like, there's nothing else to watch, and you're like, it's so, because it is a sweet movie. There's like lots of good you know, cameos from like character actors, and some funny parts, because, you know, it's Channing Tatum, you know, so he's just naturally very funny and charismatic. But the story just was kind of, just like you said, bare bones, like you've seen it a million times. So and Channing Tatum like co-directed it too, which I'm not sure if that was a good idea. It kind of was a basically directed movie, you know, nothing really outstanding on that front. But yeah,
that's
it was all right.
Crazy though. That's so crazy to know, because I know he is like heavily involved in the newest Magic Mike, and that, you know, he's like trying to maybe pivot into more meaningful roles.
He's trying to come back in a big way.
That's kind of amazing that he was like trying to do it there, because I guess if you like start from a place, like if you're an actor who wants to become a director, I guess if you like start from a place of directing yourself, maybe you are easily able to move into that space and then figure out all the real technical stuff from your technicians who will do all that for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, like it's not really noticeable, but it's just like, you know, there's some scenes where I'm just like, you know, they're just obviously trying to show off the nature of it, and there's a, you know, a shot of Channing Tatum in the rain with a wet t-shirt, and it's like, okay. I know who this is marketed towards, this scene, but
he's still paying that tax. It's a bummer that he has to pay to play all the time. He always has to pay to play.
I know. I do want to see the Lost City still, though, because I know you recommended that, and I've been hearing good things. But yeah, it's if you want to, I would wait till it hits a streamer or something. It's gonna probably hit a streamer soon, dog.
For sure. Yeah, not for me usually, but I do support the dream, and I want Channing Tatum to move into those spaces, because I think he's legit talented. He just really gets bogged down having to take his shirt off all the time. And I support that as well, but I do want the creative endeavor.
And there is like a very like you know, textual thing about like you know, PTSD, like with Tatum in there and the dog, which was like kind of unexpected, and I kind of liked, but it's very surface level. Like, I wanted them to go deeper into that, and there's really only a couple scenes where you kind of, it's very safe, family friendly dog movie. So I'm bummed you didn't get to see. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's like your bridge into the more serious work, both the viewer and Channing Tatum.
Right. I was just going to say, I'm bummed you didn't get to see the Mission Impossible trailer, because we don't have to get a chance to talk about it. I will just say you need to watch that immediately after we're done here.
I will. Yep.
Because
as soon as I have a break.
I've seen it like 4 times already, because it actually leaked a couple days ago. And so I saw it a little bit early, and you know, because it was just because Twitter was like on fire. Everyone was talking about Mission Impossible, and I was like, okay, let me try and look for this thing. It took me like 10 minutes to find a good link that Paramount hadn't removed, and finally found one, and I was like, holy shit, like, this looks amazing. There's a lot of callbacks to Mission Impossible 1, which will be posting our episode on Mission Impossible 1 next week. So I really liked, there's a lot of callbacks to part 1, especially. that I think you'll pick up on, obviously, because we're huge fans
Hell
of
yeah.
the De Palma entry, and and then all the new faces that are in there, and then Rebecca Ferguson, just
For
badassery all
life.
over the trailer. So
For life. Dude,
so
what
yeah,
a great
you need to watch it.
discovery. Yeah, she's such a great discovery for this franchise to have just found this person so late in the game after he's made so many films, who just like clocks right in, fits perfectly, and also is badass, is just so great, considering how, the first in the beginning it was so confusing about where this would go, and I just love how clutch it's gotten. So I can't fucking wait to see this trailer and this movie. Like, no matter what it is, I am always
Yeah.
going to be there.
Mm-hmm. And there's like they show off the stunts, of course, Tom Cruise running, and it is called Dead Reckoning Part 1, so that's assuming there's going to be
Whoa.
a Part 2 very soon after that. But it is the date on there is next year. That's the bad part.
Nice.
That's the sad part. We have to wait a whole year for it, but I mean, I'm still going to watch it. I mean, you can't
Of
go wrong with
course.
Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise, so
Nope. Yeah, it's like rare. Yeah, it's incredibly rare you can go wrong with Tom Cruise straight in general. But once Mission Impossible's there, some of the other properties like Top Gun, then we're really, it's hard
Top Gun
to
Maverick,
fail.
which
Hell
is
yeah.
why we're doing this episode today. Perfect segue here. We watched the original Top Gun, which we're going to talk about today, to get prepared for Top Gun Maverick, which comes out this week. Is it this week already?
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
Friday?
this Friday.
Holy shit. It's here.
Hell yeah.
I feel like I've watched the trailer for like 3 years now.
We really have.
Legit.
We have been watching the trailer for 3 years. So what is another year for Mission Impossible, right? We're all ready.
Yeah, this summer, like 2020. And then 2021, this fall, like it's constantly changing. So
Every
hopefully,
time.
Hopefully it's
I'm gonna have to pinch
stay.
myself.
I know. I don't know when I'm going to be able to see it, but it's definitely one I'm going to go see in the theater. You have to see that one in the theater. And I've been hearing from a lot of people it's better than the first, from a lot of people. So hey,
we'll get
happen.
into, I was going to say, we'll get into like what makes the first good, and then comparing them should be pretty interesting, because I love all the reviews that are coming out. It does seem like this might be the kind of reboot that like honors and loves the film, that started it all, but also gets what that film needs to do and be for the people. Because it feels like no one is dissatisfied with it. But like everyone is like, this is the best movie I've ever seen.
I heard from one reviewer that I think Joanna Robinson from The Ringer, who I respect her opinion on a lot of franchise stuff or whatever, and she said that she loved it. And that what got me kind of excited was she said that it owes a lot to Cobra Kai, the series, and like how that series and is like kind of setting the standard, which I tweeted about after this last season, that it's one of the best reboots of an old 80s property like ever, like bar none. Yeah. It's legit great how they're balancing out the callbacks with the new cast. And so she said like that she felt that it was on that level, and that made me excited to watch it even more. Like if they're doing the Cobra Kai, respecting the original but also bringing something new, the sweet spot, that's what I was hoping for. So that's what I'm hoping for this weekend. Yeah.
Exactly. I think Scream 5 nailed it. That like the best way
Scream
to
5
awaken
too.
a
That's
property.
A good one too.
Well, like the best way to awaken a property is to do a requel, right? To revamp everything, but to make sure you don't forget where it came from. Because I think we've seen in several different properties that when you veer too far away, if you don't nail it, everyone hates you. So there's something nice about this film being perfectly poised
Scream 3
to hear all that stuff and nail it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right? This film is luckily poised and has like had the pandemic to just get us so excited. And like I mentioned, I'm just flying there. I'll be there at 11 a.m. on Friday.
Okay, last tangent about Scream though, before we get into this episode. Did you hear the news about who's coming back for Scream 6?
Yes, and I'm so proud of her. You know, she literally willed that into
Into
existence
existence.
by
Yep.
purposefully not pretending to die on camera, making sure she kept
Yep.
shaking so that she would have a way in, and it fucking worked. I love it.
Yeah. Hayden Panettiere, everybody, is coming back
The
for
queen.
Scream 6. Yeah.
Kirby.
Which
Yeah, great character.
I
So
caught
good.
that in Scream 5. I caught you look on, there's a screen grab of in the corner, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, fucking Kirby. I was like, so I thought she might come in in Scream 5. She's not in there, spoilers, I guess. But she is going to be in Scream 6. So
Hell yeah.
for fans of her, she was one of my favorite characters for Scream 4, so I'm looking forward to seeing her back. She's awesome.
It's true. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like we have to honor the great properties and I guess, use them for all they've got because we love them. So we're never going to not want to revamp stuff. We got lost for a little while doing some shitty reboots, but I think this one is going to stand the test of time as like a standard, right? Just like Cobra Kai is the standard for doing it on TV or like in the television format. This is probably going to be the standard because it certainly wasn't Jurassic World.
There's a lot of bad reboots. There's a lot of bad reboots out there. So when there's a good one, I always want to scream it from the mountaintop. So that's why like Cobra Kai I've been recommending so hard. Scream, yeah, like you said, the Scream reboot. So and Top Gun Maverick, we'll see if this is it deserves to be in the conversation. But so today though we're talking about Top Gun as we said. So let's get started.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about the 1986 film Top Gun. And if you haven't seen it, it's about a group of elite students in the U.S. Navy's fighter weapons school competing to be the best in the class, the Top Gun, if you will, and a young, headstrong pilot named Maverick who learns the price of honor. Shani B, are you a fan of this movie? What do you love? What do you hate?
I'm a huge fan of this movie, as I'm sure anyone listened has gathered. We probably both are, but there's just so much in this movie to look back on and reflect on and appreciate because it's a movie made at a time where every detail is taken into account. The stakes of this movie are so high and everybody is soaked in sweat the whole time. There's so many good lines because everybody is direct. The dialogue is so strong. And I love how much of a like man's man film this is, where it can be a little bit like, erotic here and there because everybody looks so good. But it's actually just about how much these guys need to love each other to survive this crazy shit they're doing and like the extreme danger they're putting themselves into. So I just stand for this shit like left and right as a story, as a model for friendship, everything. I love it. What about you? What do you love? What do you hate?
This is like rare on this show, but I don't really love this movie. Never have. I've never gotten it.
Oh my God. I never saw it coming. Oh my God. Okay. I gotta hear it. Yes, give it to me.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's of its time. I didn't grow up in the 80s, wasn't born in the 80s. So watching a lot of this stuff, like, some of it I can handle. The music, I actually will get into it. I think the music spectacular, holds up. They play some of the same stuff like 100 times, but it works for what they're trying to do. So on that level, it works, even though that's like 80s music. But yeah, the homoeroticism and just the broy like quips to each other and just like constantly being in each other's close quarters, like almost about to make out with it's just so funny. I can't take it serious. It's this fake macho like army bullshit. And for like 100 minutes, and it's fine. I don't hate it, but I don't put it up in like the pantheon of like great action movies, Tom Cruise's best movies. And even I guess another hot take, I'm not even like, everyone has those directors that doesn't really work for them. They just don't get. Tony Scott is one of those guys for me as well. I don't know if I've talked about that on this already.
No, we haven't really talked about him yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has a couple movies that I think are good. Like I like Unstoppable with Denzel,
Yep.
and True Romance. But outside of that, like he has a bunch of movies that I've been told my entire life, like, oh my god, you got to watch these. These are amazing. These are classic. This is some of the best action. Blah blah blah. And I watched them finally after being told that my entire life, and they don't hold up to me. Like Top Gun's one of them. Man on Fire is another one where it gave me a splitting headache from all the shaky cam and zooms, and I'm just like, what is everyone saying? Like, why are everyone saying these movies are so incredible? And so I know there's people probably pissed right now, but yeah, that's why.
It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. There's a lot of, if you want to, I enjoy it on the comic level of these are guys trying to be tough and they are not whatsoever to me.
So good.
That's how I enjoy it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I think that's why, I like reflecting on it and I like revisiting it, because I feel like they're the perfect guys to take this thing that on the surface level is very macho and cheesy and pull it all the way to the ground. Like some of those moments when Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise are about to make out are such important moments, because they represent this idea that for all the machismo each of them is wearing, they're both terrified. And I feel like each of those actors are the perfect ones to cut right through all that masculinity and show you that, like, it kind of is an act, like his whole persona, his whole Maverick thing is so cocky and dickish, and he just sees himself as such a stud. It's hilarious to watch the journey that Tom Cruise has to go on from, being very brash and masculine to, really knowing something about honor in the end and integrity. It's so good.
I agree with you. I agree with you on the Tom Cruise side of it.
Always,
he's definitely got the assignment. Or maybe he didn't, which is why he's perfect for this, because you need someone who like thinks they're so cool and believable on that front, but they're not really, which is like Tom Cruise's whole MO, because like he makes these cool movies, but he's also like, you look at his outside life and he's a Scientologist and just a weirdo. It's like, that's the guy you want to be the conflicting main character of your movie. Val Kilmer, though, I don't know what the hell he was doing. His performance never works in this movie for me either, because like one scene in particular, the one where I think the one you're talking about, where like he's talking to him in the locker room and he's like, Goose has just died, and he's just like, I don't know what he was going. He was just like, everyone liked Goose. Sorry. And I was just like, what was that? What am I supposed to feel here? Is that like bonding? Is that like them trying to, I don't know.
I guess. I guess
that's one performance. Even like Goose, I like Goose's performance too in here. I think so that's good. A stronger bond, like between, but yeah, Kilmer's always like Doc Holliday. We did Tombstone.
That's where
That's
it's
the example of, you want to talk about like, toxic masculinity and, faking like something you're not, even though he's sickly and dying. That's the Val Kilmer performance that I would hold up as that.
Totally.
Not Iceman. I just, it's weird to me that there's like this, it kind of feels like a thrown in, we need Tom Cruise to be against this person in the Navy because they don't want to get into the politics of naming Russia, Korea. Like, it's vague as hell who they're even fighting in the movie. They can't name it. So Iceman is like the de facto villain in the first half of the movie, and it doesn't work for me. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing that I think upon rewatch this time around, because I guess the last time I would have watched this was probably like a hot 5+ years ago. I can't think of the last time I rewatched it. So this time around, I was thinking, like, for example, that exact scene, I thought, oh, like that's also reflective of how dudes in these positions don't know how to show any emotion without completely crumbling. And that's like what's frustrating about these life and death situations we ask regular people to go into. But that's me making space, right? We can't, I can't know that he actually did that.
If that's what he was going for, then that works on that level. But I just, throughout the whole movie, like I couldn't understand what he was going for that character. You know what I mean? So that when it came to that moment, I was just like, I feel nothing. Like I don't, I don't know what you guys aren't really close. You're not even really you're not being that there. You're just out to the side. Like, sorry.
I'm so curious. Yeah, like what people thought of it in real time. Because that's what's kind of awesome about when we watch these older movies and we have like some time to reflect on them and kind of see what they did. I wonder if what people thought of the dynamic between the two of them, because their characters are so iconic and they're so different, but they're also both bad and good guys. Like Tom Cruise does some dangerous shit. He is a wild card, and that means that people get hurt. And Iceman is a little too by the book. Like the fact that he's the one who's by the book is my favorite shit of all time, because he walks and talks and acts like he wouldn't be. So it's amazing that he's like, you're too dangerous out there.
And see, you know what else might have ruined this movie for me? I think I saw Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, before this movie. And when you see a spoof that so accurately just shits, like dunks on all these tropes of these movies so good, like how that movie does, you ruined it. It ruins it. So like seeing that movie first and then seeing Top Gun, it's like, oh, this is the part where he's, fake paralyzed and can't fly in the sky anymore.
Yeah, he's not sure if he can do it.
Yeah, and it's hilarious, and they even recycled the same thing when he did Days of Thunder. It's the exact same movie as Top Gun, but with cars. Yeah. It's literally the exact same movie.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that is the one thing about it that is kind of frustrating, is like so much of that stuff feels really forced, even the space I might be giving, because I feel like I always give movies the benefit of the doubt that like they think they're doing something transformative because they always think of themselves so highly. So I know they were trying to do something meaningful here, and yet there are still hilarious holes to poke in it, because like, what's the point of the love story really? Like, what does that do?
Can I tell you?
And just accurately portray the woman who existed in real life. Like that's it.
I found this out in the research. I have your answer.
Hook me up.
Found this in the research.
Give me this info.
A test audience who saw the movie before it was released were annoyed that there was no love scene. The producers obliged, and 5 months after the production had wrapped, they summoned Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis to Chicago to film the infamous elevator scene and the sex scene. During their time away from the set, McGillis had lost approximately 16 pounds, and Cruise was filming The Color of Money, so his hair was much longer in those scenes. McGillis's hair was also much darker, hence why she hid it underneath a cap in the elevator scene. So that is why there's a forced love story, because audiences in the 80s were like, the hell is this? There's no love in this. All we're getting is this bromance and no heterosexual love here.
Right? It's true. It is really, really confusing that some of these movies go on record and are so beloved when they do have hilarious things. Like, I can't wait for whatever is going to happen between Tom Cruise and Jennifer Connelly, because it just looks like they love each other. Like even in the two moments that they have briefly in the trailers, it just looks like they love each other. And I just feel like there's not really that chemistry there. And so it's so forced with, the best 80s song of all time, though. So that like still is awesome. But it's just so random, and you can tell that it's phoned in. It's inauthentic.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell? This was the perfect segue to my last huge plot like nitpick before we get into like, you know, stuff we did like, because I don't want to just rag on this movie the whole time. But
Right.
yeah, what you said like about you know, Tom Cruise, like I just think there's certain movie stars, and like, you know, this has been rumored forever that like he's gay. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to put that out there like I believe that. I'm just saying
he's got the shade. Yeah.
There's certain movie stars that they cannot sell romance. To me, Tom Cruise is one of those guys. I never believe him when and they always force him to have a love story. I like, you know, the only one I'm trying to think of, like one that worked, Eyes Wide Shut, and that's because that love is so broken in that movie that's not really a love story.
Yeah, he's selling a different kind.
That doesn't even count. Every other movie though, like even in this, like the sex scene feels, you know, I know they had to rush that. Maybe you can argue that that's part of the reason why it doesn't feel authentic or whatever. But I mean, just the kiss is just all tongue down her throat. Like it's so weird. Like it's not sexy to me. I don't know. I'm just, as a guy watching this, you know, and I've seen a number of sex scenes in all these action movies. It just I don't know. It don't feel right. He's not the type of, it's not a James Bond, you know, movie where like that, you know, Bond always gets the girls and it's like, oh yeah, that's part of, like, you believe it in those franchises. But yeah, Tom Cruise, not one of, you know, The Rock's another one, not to just pick on Tom Cruise. And it's not because he's gay. It's just because there's no vulnerability there. There's no sexual tension chemistry there. So that's all I'm saying.
Totally. But I will say, I was really surprised with the kind of chemistry that Emily Blunt and The Rock had together in Jungle Cruise. It was a little bit lighter than I saw.
That was the first time. I would say, yeah.
It was the first time I feel like I saw it. And I guess maybe this is also just me because I'm such a huge Jennifer Connelly fan. So maybe I'm in love with her. And that's why I think they're looking at each other lovingly. But I feel like
Connelly does a lot of the heavy lifting for me. She is selling that a lot.
That's what I was going to say is there's a couple of women who've been good at making him appear like he can love them. Like even Rebecca Ferguson, she's so good at this. I think that's why she's in the Mission franchise and here to stay, because she's able to capture a chemistry with him that's so hard for other women to nab.
100% agree. And you just made me think of another one that, you know, you could argue, but I would argue what you just said, that Emily Blunt does the heavy lifting and Live, Die, Repeat as well with Tom Cruise.
It's true. Oh, she's so good. These women are so good.
He's not the one that's going to take the reins in the romantic, you know, love story in these movies. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, let's talk about some of the filmmaking performances that we did like, because there are, I will say, like some of the stuff, like the aerial footage still holds up. I took my dad to see this in theaters last year on the big screen for Father's Day. So that was the last time I saw this movie, was last year around this time. And yeah, just having that sound experience, just all those jet engines in your ear. And, you know, I love the opening credits when like they're on the carrier and you see like all the workers like doing their separate jobs. And it's like, oh, this is a whole organism that's working together to make sure just these two guys get up in the air. And, you know, so stuff like that on the technical side and the music side, that's like kind of the stuff where I'm always impressed by when I watch this movie. What about you?
Ditto. Those are the things that absolutely stick with me. And then mostly it is the sort of very unique performances, just because there's such a time capsule. You know, like Tom Cruise playing this shithead that he played like several times in the 80s in different forms is such a great recap of like what they expected young men to be, but that they wanted them to have this heart of gold. And it's like, to your point earlier, that's something Tom Cruise does so well. And so I love his character in this and the journey that he takes him on. And, you know, like Anthony Edwards, is that right? I think that's right. But he's
I think so.
like charming and cute and fucking new Meg Ryan, like early Meg Ryan, who's just like random AF playing like a military wife, but so adorable. I feel like mostly I just remember these actors at a time in their career when it's so different from how when I was growing up, I saw them. I had no idea these things happen. So that's usually what sticks with me. And I guess I'll let Tony Scott have that he captured those performances and the great filmmaking, but I feel like he is a victim of using too much technology. Like he's one of the dudes who's like, oh,
that's my
everyone's doing
thing.
the shaky
Yep.
cam. Like, oh, everyone's editing this way. Okay, I will. And that like sucks because I feel like if he stuck more to like him doing what he wants to do, his bro ham style, maybe he would still be partying.
No, yeah, it's, no, that's always my thing too. Is like it's not, it's nothing personal. It's just like what you said. It's always the technology takes me out of the story, and it's unfortunate because it's like Man on Fire.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the story. I actually really like Denzel's my favorite actor. Good. The story's good.
Fuck
Christopher's good performances in that as well. Christopher Walken. But it's just like I cannot visibly watch the movie. He's taking me out of the movie at every turn. And so this one is not as much of that. But I do want to follow what you said about some of the supporting cast too. Is something that I always like can fall back on a little bit too for me. Like Michael Ironside or Tom Skerritt, all their conversations are just Tom Skerritt just looking out the window and delivering those lines. It's like he is fully committing to this, and he's got some good stuff. Or even when he tells Tom Cruise, like, and if no one's there, I'll fly with you. It's like, damn, yes,
yeah,
that was getting me riled up. You know what I mean? When some of those other actors were getting in on it too, as well.
Yeah. That's another thing that when I was rewatching it this time and I was trying to understand the dynamic of their relationship because I love Tom Skerritt, and I guess I had forgotten all the father-son stuff that they were discussing because Maverick wants to know about his dad. And so there was just something nice about how he was setting the tone for what Tom Cruise, for what Maverick's character needs to understand about, being a pilot in the Navy, which is like, you can still be tender and show someone, affection or love or gratitude or any of these sensitive, vulnerable emotions, and you can still go save the world. That's what he's walking around doing as like a model for these guys. And so I'm really hoping that's what Tom Cruise is about to embody in this, requel here.
That's what it looks like with Miles Teller. Miles, right? That's what I'm getting from the trailer. Like that's going to be the new dynamic there. Yeah.
I'm really excited for it because I feel like this is another great example of maybe the original phoning it in and sort of just painting it by numbers was drab. But when you take that same structure, that same skeleton, and you put an amazing body over top of it, we might, that's what we might see with this new.
Yeah, John Hamm's in there. The technical stuff is going to be impeccable. Like if the last Mission Impossible movie didn't already sell you enough on how you can do, stuff in the air. I mean, everything. Incredible. So, I'm really excited for that too. Just on what you said.
I mean, like, I have to say, too, about Kelly McGillis having to be literally, like, the only woman that gets to be kind of in the story. Because Meg Ryan, of course, is that side character as Edwards' wife. But, like, McGillis is out here being like, I am a real person who is important in this thing. And it's just so 80s for Tom Cruise to be like, whatever, I'm going to follow you into the women's bathroom and force you to date me. And I'm going to set a date with you, and then I'm going to play volleyball right up until that date, and then I'm going to try to take a shower at your house before the date starts. So many
let's get into that because I mean that whole sequence that you're talking, that 10-15 minutes of like him singing to like serenade her was like, it's so awkward, it's
so random.
I'm just like,
so weird.
Like, just buy her a drink, bro. It's really not that difficult. It's really
He's running game. He's got a run game.
You did not have to do all that, and like it works for her in the movie because the script says it. It's not. But that's I don't buy that a girl that looks like that with all of like putting up with all that would really. Like I don't know. No, I do like I do like the interplay though of like her kind of letting him boast and get all his like pop shit to her, and then reveals that she's actually your boss. That's always a twist that I really love, and they really play into that because it's like even it shoots her from behind and then she turns her head around and you see it in Tom Cruise's face and he's like looking around and puts the shades on as he's trying to like process what's going on. That stuff is like amazing. I really love that part of the movie.
Yep. Yeah, it's like they make the most of what they can and they bring really interesting authenticity and chemistry to lots of the moments, but it is such a story that's a little bit bogged and a little bit paint by numbers. And so I'm excited to see how they could lift that, like to slide into some of our favorite like stunts and things like that. What's interesting about rewatching this was I was trying to think of like singular stunts, and then I was like, I know what even is a stunt in this movie, right? Like this whole movie is one big stunt piece because everyone's flying these planes or they're like in the planes a lot of the time going through simulation and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm so curious to see what stood out to you other than kind of the amazing coverage that's happening throughout.
Yeah, one big stunt piece and one big recruitment video for the Navy, which is another thing that came up on the research is that they had the highest numbers of recruitment after this movie came out. Not a surprise, honestly.
It had to be
probably a lot of guys, watching this and being like, "Oh, this is the epitome of cool," and just I want to get the aviator shades and the jackets, the pilot jackets too. So. Yeah, but to answer your question though, like, it was difficult this time for both of the categories that we have to think of like one particular thing because it all kind of does blend together, which is, again, it's like another thing I struggle with this movie. There's not really a huge like culminating to one big set. I mean, there kind of is at the end, but like, it's not like Mission Impossible where it takes a stop in the story and then it kind of just like rolls over into the next. So I don't know, I guess the one that I said it kind of goes into that scene where McGillis and he first finds out that that's his boss, and he's explaining to her about like how the plane was inverted and, like how could you get that close? Or we were communicating. What were you communicating? The bird, the bird. And so that, I mean, it's such a good stunt that they reference it later in the movie. You know what I mean? So for that reason alone, I feel like this stunt deserved to be best stunt just off of that, and it is a really like, the actual stunt of it's like shot very like fat, like it cuts really fast, it's like slow and then it goes like cuts away because it's like you said, the coverage of it, even though like they you get the camera sound and there's supposedly like a picture of him doing it. I would have loved to have seen that picture, to be honest. Like what did that picture look like? Maybe that's another nitpick there. But yeah, what about you? What was your favorite like stunt? I guess another one too I just want to mention is the part where he storms away on his motorcycle and then McGillis like drives behind him like super fast and then he jumps.
Dude, yes.
He jumps like super high and she like blows a stop sign and I was like, I always love a good like car chase or car stunts. So I thought that was like a good one, and then that leads to like their infamous sex scene. So
exactly. Yeah, they had to supercharge up so they could have their release, and
that was
they
foreplay.
Do that through stunt
that was
pieces.
Foreplay for them. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yep. Yeah. I totally agree. I feel like the inverted bird is so good, and it's like a testament to good writing. Like a good stunt in a film should be reflective in it needing to have been there to tell the story. And this stunt needs to be there because in the story that is integral to the fact that, yes, he's a maverick or whatever, and he doesn't do what everyone else would expect you to do in a situation, but that's what helps them get further. That's what helps them learn more and do better.
You're dangerous.
Exactly. Like that danger is something we need a person we can trust to harness it. And that's another thing Tom Cruise does so well. He convinces people in every movie he's in that like he should be the one in charge of the most dangerous thing. He's got it.
But he's the good dangerous. He's the good dangerous, you know?
Yeah.
So what was the stunt though that you would go with? You would say the inverted bird as well?
Like it would be the inverted bird out of respect, and then out of jest it would be Tom Cruise spiking a volleyball, because there's no way he can get up high enough to do that. I can't do that, and we are very close in height, so that's a great stunt.
That was another piece that came up in the research, is that through several scenes, you know, with McGillis, who was several inches taller than him, he had to wear lifts because he is 5'7" and she is 5'10", and you know, a man can never be shorter than a woman on screen in an action movie. So.
I feel like that's also shade that they've thrown at him forever. They always put really tall women next to him, and I feel like they're doing it to fuck with him, but you wouldn't know because he still shows up cocky as ever, no problem.
Yeah, because even Ferguson is tall. Blunt is kind of taller. Yeah, that's true. Kidman, I guess, is a little taller. Yeah.
Dude,
that's hilarious. That's pretty funny. I never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. He always gets the movies with the taller women.
I mean, it's cool, right? They're baller ladies, but
he likes mountain climbing. We know this from the Mission Impossible movies.
That's true. It's a hobby of his. That's very true.
What about kills though? What's your favorite kill? Again, not a lot to choose from necessarily. Not, you know, like our usual 100 kills in a movie that we get to choose from every week. But yeah, I think this one's pretty obvious too.
Right. Yeah, I think the most meaningful kill is, you know, him losing Goose during. I guess is that just a drill that they're doing, right? Like their plane just freaks out. For some reason, I couldn't really realize what was happening.
It's so
it was too
unclear
late.
and murky the way the way that it all culminate, like it all blends together, you know, because it's like immediately from the death, then we're in the courtroom, and it's like you're off the hook. It's not your fault, and it's like he doesn't even get time to necessarily like grieve. You know what I mean? Like the most grief you see is when he has the scene with Meg Ryan. And she's like, he would have flown, he would have hated it, but he would have flown too, like without you. It's like, I don't know, it just doesn't properly hit those emotional beats. And I'm hoping that in the new one, they kind of give time for those to breathe a little bit before they get into, the macho masculine action stunts.
Totally. Yeah. I feel like I like the ending, how he's able to like take everybody out, because I feel like in a sense that's him redirecting to, being in the military and being an elite part of the military sort of means that you're going to be surrounded by death. I feel like Scarrett even says something like that. Something about, or maybe it's
McGillis.
Ironside, but someone
McGillis, she says
makes a comment.
What you do is dangerous, Yeah,
you got to know that. And so there's something nice about the transition from that whirlwind of losing Goose the way that he does, and then sort of coming back in the end, and him and Iceman finding a way to like get back to what they're here to do and shoot all those fools down. Because even in the end, like Kilmer gets a little nervous and Maverick saves him. So he can be his wingman anytime.
I was going to say it if you weren't going to say it. So I'm glad. I mean, you could take away the dialogue from this too, is like, whether you like this movie or not, it's iconic. You know what I mean? It's irrelevant. This movie is such a iconic relic of the 80s.
There are too many memorable lines. Like the fucking in the like open, someone's like, "Your ego's cutting checks, your body can't cash."
Your body can't cash. Yeah,
it's so good. Like, how could you forget a movie like this? And I really respect a movie for figuring out a way to be iconic, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, because I mean those are some of the things that will help elevate your film is that you get those great character actors to deliver those lines and hope that they become iconic the way that they deliver them, the way they're written. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you can only hope to have a Top Gun, relevance nowadays. It's even harder than ever. But yeah, I want to get some of these special features in. We don't have a lot of time here.
Yeah, go
So
for
I'll
it.
just kind of run through some of these. I guess important one. We talked about the music. "Take My Breath Away" won Best Song at the 1987 Oscars.
Bow, bow,
Incredible
bow, bow,
song.
bow. So good.
Would say it adds a lot more to the sex scene than the actual sex does, but that's just my opinion.
So accurate.
Great
So
song.
accurate.
Great song.
Meaningful
Yeah.
lyrics, poetic and powerful. And
Yeah.
I agree with what you said earlier that like the music of this film holds up. It somehow captures everything going on in this story. And I love that song has an Oscar. That's
Because
fantastic.
even though I don't think the dramatic beats hit, the music cues like kind of cue you into like how you're supposed to be feeling. You know what I mean? Like, so in a way, it like half hits. It like half hits because I'm like, oh, the music is telling me I should be feeling this way in this moment, but even though I'm not necessarily 100% committed to that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess the one scene I was talking about when Maverick is saying that he gave the bird to a MiG and Val Kilmer coughs and he says bullshit. That was an ad lib from Val Kilmer, and everyone laughing is genuinely laughing, which I thought was just amazing.
Wow, he's the best. He's so smart. He knows when to add something.
Exactly. Tony Scott calls the film the purest form of escapism and says it is manliness entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, like it's a fantasy of like what it would be like to be in these positions where you would face a reality of things that are very challenging that every man can face, but you would overcome them this fucking cool with this much respect and this much of a sexy girlfriend and this awesome of a motorcycle.
Right.
It is escapism in the best way.
Yeah. And to that, too, another thing that I thought was hilarious in the research, Jerry Bruckheimer, who produced the film, and a lot of these action movies that, from the 80s and 90s.
Love him. He's the best.
When he convinced Tom Cruise to sign on for the film, after Tom Cruise was reluctant, he says the Navy took Tom up there. They do 5Gs, they do barrel rolls, they do everything. He's heaving in the plane. He gets on the tarmac, runs to a payphone, and says, "I'm in. I'm doing the movie. I love it. This is great."
Yes.
What a maniac!
Weirdest dude of all time. I have no idea what's going through his head at any given moment. But holy shit, is he a good actor? I don't know. I don't know what it means or anything, but damn, he's good, and I can't fucking wait to see this movie. I feel like it should be a little bit of the same, where this one also feels like beautiful escapism through nostalgia in the best way. So I like that at least Tony Scott knows what he's doing in that space, even if he gets wooed by the technology. He's got a good head on his shoulders.
Oh, yeah. And I know you got to get out of here. I'll do this last one here because I think it's interesting. The film was inspired by an article in the May 1983 issue of California Magazine about the U.S. Navy's Top Gun school. So if people didn't know that, this is an adapted, movie from an article.
That's the best. Some of the best movies come from the most random spaces. And I feel like it's always easy to make a movie based on a book or something. But I like when you can extrapolate because then you're allowed to play in a space that existed with fantasy. So I'm glad
or even
that is the source material.
Two documentaries I saw on Netflix this year were based on articles. The Tinder Swindler and Our Father. Those are two articles that got made into documentaries on Netflix. So it's becoming a viable, source of movie making in the modern age. So if it's a good story, it can make a good movie or a good documentary. So I'm all for it.
Hell yeah. Same. Ah, yes. All right, cool. Yeah, I got to get out of here. So let's get our plugs in and remind the people where they can find us. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can follow both of us at Action Movie Buffs on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at Rampage_Misfit. And then my movie page is at Misfit_Minded on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Shani Movies. And if you came late to this live show, you can find this episode of Movie Buffs on Spotify, Apple, and Stitcher podcasts Friday. And lastly, if you love streaming content and you want to hear more of an in-depth rant about how bad Firestarter was, I'll be reviewing that later tonight on Stream Queens. So, feel free to stop by. Yeah, awesome. That's it for me.
Hell yeah. And then thank all of you out there for listening, and we will catch you on another episode next time of Movie Buffs.